Good morning, everybody. Hi. I have to apologize first because I had to do a voiceover on this because for some reason the sound didn't work at all. So it might be a little off here and there, but I'm going to do my best. So this is for the Interesting July collaboration. So hashtag Interesting July. There were a lot of things that they gave us for us to do. So we had a lot of options. And I decided to go with that July was named after Julius Caesar. And so at that time, it was the 5th month. So I decided to do something with envelopes today. And I chose to do it with 5 envelopes. This collaboration has a lot of people. There's a new video every day, so I would recommend that you go look at it. It's hashtag Interesting July. You can find the list of all the participants down below in the comment box or the description box. And I hope that you enjoy this, and I hope that you go watch all the other videos because I think they're going to be amazing. So I have 5 envelopes, and I'm obviously counting them for you because that's it. So I have 2 large ones. They measure 6.5 by 4 3/4. I'm going to measure them just to make sure. So this is the envelope you would get for a normal kind of greeting card that you would make. Something that was like half of an 8.5 by 11 sheet that you then folded in half of that. So that's a normal greeting card. And then I have 3 of these envelopes. And these are like letter kind of envelopes, the smaller size. So they're 6 3/8 by 3 3/8. So these are the ones that you would put in like a little sheet of paper, like a note writing sheet of paper, right, that you folded in thirds. You would fit in here for a letter size. So I have 3 of these. So again, they're 6 3/8 by 3 3/8. You could definitely make this with bigger envelopes. And just, if you had a larger, maybe like one of those smaller size manila envelopes and 2 large letter envelopes. You could also make the same thing in a larger size. It would actually be kind of cool to make it out of file folders too. I might try this now because I think it might be interesting to do it actually as kind of a flip book or a lap book kind of thing. So you want this envelope with the flap up facing you, and then you're going to take one of the smaller envelopes with the flap and put it behind. So that flap is behind. And that will allow us to have a little flap out. And then you're going to take the other one, and you're also going to turn that one over so the flap goes behind on the other side. So now you have like a gatefold kind of card thing. Then this one we're going to take, and we're actually going to cut it down, and that will be our flap at the top. We'll cut it down, so we'll use it as our flap at the top. And the rest of the envelope we'll use in some way, and then we'll also use this 5th envelope to make pockets and tucks and all kinds of fun other things in this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to trim off a small part of the top, because this smaller envelope is slightly smaller than that one. So it's 6.5 is the other one is 6 3/8, so it's about 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to cut a little bit off the larger envelope in the back. You can definitely line it up and mark it with your pencil, which is what I'm going to do here. But you could also just trim it off, just take a hair off the top of it, and you'll be fine. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think I got a little, being a little too precise on this, and sometimes I'm not like that. Sometimes I'll just cut it, but I think I'm trying to be really precise for this. You just want to trim the top of this off. Excuse me. just the smallest little amount there. Then you have an opening at the top, and we will use that opening. The side we will use actually as a tuck spot, so that'll be glued down. So we have our envelope. On this flap, there is a little thing that covers the sticky part, and that we will take that covering off, and then we'll glue it down. We'll put a piece of paper over it, so you don't have to worry about that, because we want that to be that tuck spot. So I don't want to do that. So we're going to take that off now, and I have some book pages that I'm just going to use to cover it with. So I'm just going to put some glue on our flap, and then glue the paper to the flap, and then cut it off. So I may speed some of this up because it'll be a little boring while we're gluing and stuff. So I may do that. So first I'm going to put a little glue here on the that little tab that sticks out there, just to close that down. And then we'll put a little glue on each end and glue that down so we have a nice tuck spot. And all this will obviously be covered with some paper, so it will look really, really beautiful when we are done. And there's our tuck spot. So now I'm going to take, and we need to glue these envelopes on each side. But to do that, so both the flap and the envelope open, because we want the flap to open on the back, both flaps for both envelopes. And then we want both of the actual envelope parts to open. So we're going to hinge them onto the bigger envelope. So to do that, I'm just going to cut some book page slightly shorter than the length of the envelope, and I'm going to cut 2 of them, so I have one for each of the smaller envelopes. So I'm cutting them, I believe, about 6 inches long, because the envelope is 6 3/4, give or take, right? So 6 inches long, and then I'm going to cut that strip that I cut in half. So I'm going to cut off this first end, and then I'm going to cut them. So I'm going to speed this part up as well. So we're going to put the hinges on. So I'm going to fold these in half. And then we're going to glue them on to both the small pockets and the large center pocket. So just make sure you have your envelope the right way. You want the flap of the large pocket in front, because that's your tuck spot. So it's going to open out like this, and you're going to put glue on the right side of the flap, so actually on the envelope part, and it is going to cover up the opening a bit, so it will kind of shorten your pocket a little bit. I could have put some paper down and covered the whole thing first and then put the flap on, but I really wanted that that hinge flap to be hidden. And so yeah, you're gonna lose a little bit of the inside of the pocket, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, so that goes onto that pocket, and then that hinge actually goes onto the back of the large pocket. So that keeps your flap on the small pocket open, and it keeps the pocket, the small envelope part in the front open. So you have both of those open to use. So I'm going to do that for both sides. So I'm going to speed up the video now. Okay, so we've got both our pockets on. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to, you've got your tuck spot here, and I'm going to trim the edges of this off. So we'll have pockets on both sides. You could trim the top off, but because you've got a pocket actually at the top, so I'm just going to put this, again, like we did with the large envelope, put it in the trimmer and just trim just barely a hair off, like 1/8 of an inch at the most. I just kind of push it right past the cutting space and just cut a little tiny strip off. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. So we will have 2 pockets on each end. There will be lots and lots of pockets and tuck spots in this little folio. Geez, I need a new blade for my trimmer for sure. I just need to start using my big trimmer. Or my guillotine trimmer. That would have worked really well too. So now we've got that spot and we've got that pocket and then the pocket at the top. So now we're going to make the flap that goes over the top. So we're going to use the other large envelope. So we're just going to cut this down to size. It will just go right over the top. So I'm just going to cut it right there. So just kind of lining it up to make sure where I need to mark it to cut it. You don't want it to go too far over the edge. You don't want it sticking out. You don't want your pocket sticking out. And we want to be able to use that if we need it. So I'm just going to trim that off. So just put it in the trimmer and trim at that spot. Again, I need a new blade for my cutter for sure. That one actually worked pretty well. So now we got to kind of make the edges on I'm just going to trim the top off because we only need the top. So I'm just going to slice this top off. We're going to use the bottom part of this envelope for some other things. So we have a couple of other things to use the bottom part of this envelope for. So we will just set it aside. Yeah, we're gonna use that. So don't throw that away. We might use that too. Who knows? So don't throw that away either. So I'm gonna cut this little notch off this side of the envelope. Your envelope may or may not have that. It just depends. And we want to make those 2 ends the same. So I thought maybe I could just use that edge and just trim it. So just line it up and trim it because those were the 2 edges of the envelope. So that's what I'm doing, is just trying to get it lined up so it's straight and even, and can just cut that same angle
However, once I got it done, I didn't really like it. It was kind of, I don't know, it didn't look even to me. It just doesn't look even. I don't know why. So I put it back on and looked again, and I was like, I don't know, it doesn't look even. It doesn't, maybe I didn't do it right. Maybe I didn't cut it right. So I end up doing is just folding it in half and just cutting the two ends together. I think I cut them on a slightly more of an angle. It just didn't look, I will show you, it just doesn't look even. It doesn't look the same, and I didn't really like it. And I think I wanted it a little bit more on an angle too. I like how it turned out at the end. So just trying to decide here. So yeah, I just decided I'm going to cut the two ends together at the same time. So I just lined the two ends up there, and I'm just going to use my scissors and trim it off and trim it. I trimmed it at a little more of an angle, I think. I liked the look of it to have a little bit more of an angle on it. So just barely trimmed it off. Put those little pieces over the side off my work mat. And then that will just go right over the top like that. So, it's obviously you got to open these flaps up, and then we're going to glue that down to there. So just put your glue on that part of the hinge and just glue it onto the back, making sure to line up the fold with the top of the envelope. It's probably the hardest thing with this is getting all of the things really, I guess, for lack of a better word, tight up against each other, because you're starting to kind of build paper on top of paper, and you start to build the thickness of it, and it gets a little harder. It wants to make like almost hinges or like spines, like a little bit of thicker, like 1/8 of an inch kind of thing. Especially on those two flaps right there. When you get to put like actual paper on them to cover them, they fold nicely, but they want to kind of bow out a little bit. And, paper's very forgivable for the most part, so it will be okay. So we've got our tuck spot. We've got our two pockets on the end. Now we've got that top pocket up there. Now with our flap, and now we are going to go over and work on the back side. So on the back side, I'm going to put eyelets here eventually when I get the paper put on, and put twine to close that. But I want to put something inside here. So we have our other little envelope. And what I'm going to do is, I think what I decided, and well, I know what I decided, but I'm going to measure the two ends off and just cut the middle of the envelope out. So that way I don't have to recreate a flap. I don't have to so I just first tried to eyeball it, and it was like, that's not really going to work. So I kind of found the center and just pinched it just a little bit at the top so I can kind of know where the center is. And then that way I could kind of eyeball it. And I'm kind of that kind of a person. Sometimes I measure, and sometimes I find that measuring doesn't even really help me. I'm better at eyeballing it. So I just marked the two where I want to cut off. And I did have to cut it a couple of times, I will tell you, because again, you're folding those flaps in. So when you're folding those flaps in, you're going to have the issue of it being larger than the flaps when they're folded in. So the first time I cut it and put it in there, it didn't really fit very well. So you'll see when I put it in and fold that, it doesn't really want to fold. It doesn't want to fold over, close over. So I just put it back on the trimmer and trim some more off so I could get a better fold on that. Obviously we want that to close. So that's better. So that works better. I probably in the end could have trimmed it off a little bit more because again, you're putting paper on top of paper on top of paper. So the pocket will open and that will be, and then I'm going to make the back also a pocket. So the first thing I'm going to do is glue these two sides down. So I'm just going to put glue down each edge here to glue the two sides closed because we don't want them to open. Now you could have it open. You could have it open all the way up. That would have been really cute. Had it be a open all the way up and be a journaling place. That would be a really cute idea. So I started to glue this on and then I was like, oh wait, I got to put paper down first. So we have to put paper on here first. I ended up later on not doing that and just gluing the pocket on and just putting paper at the top because that's when I realized this is going to start to get really thick with all these layers of paper and I didn't want to do that. So this part of the video I'm going to speed up quite a bit because it's really just adding the papers and inking up the envelopes and everything. So it's you know, kind of like watching paint dry a little bit. So I'm going to speed this up and then I actually have to say my camera cut out at some point and I didn't realize it, so I don't even think it finished filming all of the putting the paper on, but at the very end I'll come back and show you the whole finished project and what it looks like. So we're really just gonna put all the paper. This is all paper that I had left over from a journal that I've just made, and so I had a lot of pieces. So this is a great way to use up your scraps as well. So it's kind of nice to kind of be able to use them all up. So however you find best, some of them I tore, some of them I cut. It just really depended on how I wanted it to go. So I'm just going to speed the rest of this up with some music and then I'll come back at the end and show you the finished project. One note, when you're gluing over your two side pockets, be careful not to put glue on that open spot where, like in mine, where the gray security part of the envelope is, because if you do, you will literally close your envelope up even more than it already is, because where the book paper is, we've already kind of closed that off by gluing that on, so you don't want to glue anymore. So you kind of got to glue around that space. You can put glue on the book paper and glue on the white part of the envelope, but just not that gray part. Just a little tidbit. So I ended up just sewing 2 buttons onto these 2 flaps, and I'll untie this in a minute. And so this holds this down, and it just twists around a couple times and come back and twist around here. So that holds it closed this way. And here I just took 1 piece and doubled it. This is just twine, and put it through like that. Hold it tight, and then just tied a bow to hold. So I put a couple of eyelets in here. So we do end up having quite a bit of pockets in here. So we have the 2 tuck spots here. We have a pocket on each end here and here. And then we do have the pocket up here at the top, right there. This tuck spot here. And we also have this pocket behind where this tag is. And we have the pocket that's inside this envelope. So there's quite a bit of space. I could have made other places too. I mean, we certainly could have made tuck spots on the fronts of these, you know, something. But I wanted it to kind of be clean when it was closed. So when this is closed, oops, like this. I wanted it to be kind of closed like that, so it looked more like an envelope, and then that's the back closed. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I do apologize for the quality, especially the sound quality, and having to do the voiceover. That's not normally something that I would do, but I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you try it yourself. Thanks everybody. Bye bye.